Every night across America, millions of lights turn on. Each light belongs to a family, a routine, a life. At least, that's what you think. You believe you're renting from a person, a landlord, a homeowner, someone just like you. You're not. You're renting from Wall Street, not a man, not a woman, not a family, a machine, a system, a financial engine designed to extract money from where you sleep. This family thinks they have a home, a place to live, a place to grow, a place to breathe. They don't. They have a line item on a spreadsheet. They moved in 5 years ago. They painted the walls. They fixed the sink. They planted trees. They raised kids. They made memories. They treated it like home. Then one day, the rent went up, not by 5%, not by 10%, 40%, not because the house got better, not because the neighborhood changed, but because ownership changed. Their lease was sold, not to another family, not to a neighbor, to a corporation. Their home was traded like a stock, priced like a bond, resold like a commodity. What they called home, someone else called yield. What they called a living room, someone else called cash flow. What they called stability, someone else called return on investment. Your home wasn't a home. It was an asset, a profit machine. Wall Street didn't just buy buildings. They bought time. They bought certainty. They bought the future, one house at a time. And if you think you're safe, if you think this is happening to someone else, you're wrong. Because this story is not about one family. This story is about America. And it's only just beginning. How they bought the future. When America collapsed, Wall Street didn't flinch. Where families saw foreclosure signs, empty homes, and ruined credit, Wall Street saw inventory. Where Americans saw disaster, Wall Street saw opportunity. In 2008, homes weren't just lost. They were transferred from people to institutions. Banks were drowning in property, so they dumped it. Thousands of homes at a time, whole neighborhoods, sold like clearance items. And the buyers weren't couples. They weren't families. They were funds. Quiet, invisible, relentless. They didn't show up with moving trucks. They showed up with algorithms. While families filled out paperwork, computers filled shopping carts, bots scanned auctions, bids went in milliseconds. No handshakes, no inspections, no emotions, just cash. A lot of it, more than you could ever save, more than you could ever compete with. Because you weren't bidding against a person, you were bidding against a machine. And machines don't get tired. Machines don't hesitate. They don't fall in love with kitchens or worry about schools. They calculate, they analyze, they dominate. And once they owned the homes, they rewrote the rules. They didn't ask, can a family afford this? They asked, how much can we extract? Rent wasn't set by the neighborhood. It was set by spreadsheets. Algorithms tested how much pain a household could survive. How long before someone breaks? How long before someone leaves? What they measured wasn't comfort. It was tolerance. They didn't count children. They counted profit. They didn't see communities. They saw revenue streams. In their system, a home is not a place. It's a product. And like any product, it must grow. It must yield. It must perform. So they invented something new. Not apartment buildings, not suburbs, but something far colder. Single-family rentals. Houses treated like stocks. Neighborhoods treated like portfolios. Your street became a balance sheet. And once a fund controls enough homes in one area, the numbers change. At 10% ownership, they influence. At 20%, they set expectations. At 30%, they control the market. Pricing stops being natural. It becomes scripted. When one fund raises rent, the others follow. Not because they must, but because the algorithm says they can. Competition disappears. Choice disappears. The illusion of a free market disappears, and you're left negotiating with software. Software that doesn't care if your paycheck stayed the same while your rent exploded. Software that doesn't ask if your kids will have to switch schools, if your parents can afford to stay, if your life can survive another increase. This isn't housing anymore. It's finance. Pure, unfiltered, cold. America didn't just get rented out. It got converted. Converted from homes into assets. From neighborhoods into investment vehicles. Wall Street didn't wait for the future. They bought it, one roof at a time. The human cost. This is not about numbers anymore. It's about people, the ones who disappear quietly. The elderly couple who paid their house off decades ago, now packing their life into cardboard boxes. Not because they did anything wrong, but because the rules changed. A single mother, working 2 jobs, still choosing between groceries and rent. She didn't lose a house. She lost a childhood for her kids, a veteran who came home from war, only to lose his home to a corporate email. No door knock, no human voice, just a notification. This isn't eviction. It's displacement. It doesn't remove you from a house. It removes you from a life, from a doctor you trust, from friends you know, from streets that remember you. When people leave, communities collapse, schools lose kids, classrooms go dark, local stores shut their doors one by one. The places that once knew your name now don't exist. Neighbors stop being neighbors. They become strangers. Every move breaks another thread. Every increase breaks another family. And over time, something strange happens. People stop fixing their homes. Why paint a wall? You might lose tomorrow? People stop planting trees. Why grow roots? If you won't be here to see them, people stop dreaming. Because you can't dream in a place that isn't yours. Home becomes temporary. Life becomes unstable. And when everything feels temporary, so does hope. Now imagine the numbers, not charts, not graphs, real comparisons. Paychecks that freeze while rent climbs. Homes that cost 3 times what they did a generation ago. Down payments that feel like fantasies. Ownership pushed further away every year. And age becomes the final insult. Your parents owned homes in their 20s. You're in your 30s, still renting, still waiting, still hoping, still falling behind. This isn't a phase, it's a pattern. One that locks an entire generation out of stability, out of wealth, out of the future. This isn't about bad choices. It's about a broken system, a system that is extracting life, not just money. And the scariest part? Most people don't leave because they want to. They leave because they have no choice. This was never about housing. Not really. It was about money. And not just any money, your money. Because behind every deal, behind every purchase, behind every price spike, there isn't just a corporation. There's a system, insurance money, pension money, retirement savings, money that ordinary Americans worked their entire lives to build. Money meant to keep people safe in old age, ended up competing against them for their homes. In a way nobody ever explained. You weren't pushed out by a stranger. You were pushed out by a structure, one that didn't mean to hurt people, but did anyway. Because once money enters a machine, it stops being personal and becomes optimized for return, for growth, for performance. Not for families, not for neighborhoods, just numbers. Then there's the law, quiet, complicated, invisible to most of us, and powerful. In many places, renters have fewer protections than property. Rules designed decades ago for a different market never caught up. Tax systems reward ownership, but rarely stability. Transparent markets protect investors faster than tenants. And ownership limits, almost non-existent. So nothing stops scale, nothing slows it down, nothing says, that's enough. So it grows, not because it's evil, but because that's what systems do when nothing tells them to stop. And then there's the question everyone asks, is there a way out? In some places, there is movement. Some states are tightening regulations. Some cities are experimenting with protections. Some communities are fighting back with policy instead of protest. And it matters, but it's slow, smaller than the problem, and far quieter than the money behind it. Change right now feels like a whisper against a hurricane, and that's the hardest truth of all. This didn't happen overnight, and it won't be undone overnight. No single law will fix it. No single election will reverse it. No single villain explains it. Because this isn't a story about bad people. It's a story about momentum, about systems that grew faster than morality, about incentives that outran responsibility, about money that moved faster than regulation could follow. And while everyone argues about politics, the future keeps getting bought. Not with headlines, not with speeches, with contracts, quiet ones, cold ones, legal ones. And the people inside those contracts are the ones moving tomorrow, packing tonight, deciding which memories fit in a box and which ones don't. They told you to work harder. They didn't tell you the game was already rigged, not by one person, not by one company, but by decades of silence around systems that no one stopped, because everyone assumed someone else would. This isn't the end of the story, but it is the moment. You see it clearly, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.